You're listening to Three Kitchens Podcast, a member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. And now, time to find out what's cooking today.
This episode is brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utility providers in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities.
Winter is coming, and energy usage for all Albertans will be increasing. So now is a great time for listeners to look at their utility bills and ensure they are on the best plan. Albertans have a choice of utility providers.
Park Power is happy to provide free, no-obligation comparisons. If you decide to switch providers, it's easy, and you can feel good knowing you are supporting a local business and helping to give back to our communities with your utility bill. Learn more at parkpower.ca. Welcome to Three Kitchens Podcast. This is a special Halloween episode, and to celebrate Halloween, we have special guests. We have Indy and Samantha Randhawa, who are the hosts of I Love This, You Should Too, a podcast where they tell each other about movies and other things they love and then discuss it. And sometimes they both like it and sometimes they don't. Which is really fun. Makes for fun discussions, I think. Hello and welcome.
Hi.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
And I didn't introduce my co-hosts either. I'm Heather.
I felt that, Heather. I felt it.
I'm sorry. I'm Heather, and I'm here with Sarah and Aaron as well, of course. Hello, ladies.
Of course.
Hello, everyone.
Well, I wouldn't be doing it just me. So, of course.
Three Kitchens went through budget cuts. No.
Had to trim the fat. No.
Oh. Wow.
Tough crowd too.
Some spooky stuff.
Are we witnessing your breakup? What's happening?
So I hear there's co-host spots open then as well.
Oh. It's really fun because we both started our podcasts with the Alberta Podcast Network at the same time. We both onboarded.
We did.
Back in April of 2021.
Don't know how both of you remember that date, but
before we get going, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about your podcast and how you started and what you love about it and what's your favorite?
Tell us the love stories.
Yeah.
Samantha and Indy.
Oh, I think it is maybe the opposite because we have a love story. The podcast does not come from that, I think. I have a good history with film. My first degree, I had a minor in film studies. I've written a few and acted a bunch and been in some stuff. And when I met Samantha, I would say, "Oh, what movies have you watched recently?" And I still remember one of her quotes was, "Oh, I don't talk about that kind of thing." And I was like, "Oh, this will be fun going forward." And eventually we started watching movies together and we would talk about it a little bit at a time. And somehow after that, I convinced her to try this. This is our second attempt at a podcast, actually. The first one only lasted a couple episodes and we couldn't commit to that. But Sam, do you want to tell them about the format of our show and what we usually do?
Yeah, so we do 2 episodes. The first one is a kind of pre-episode for introducing the movies, and we give each a spoiler-free review of something that we're loving this week. And then we introduce the movie to the other person. Usually it's a secret, sometimes it's not. And then for the full episode, which comes out the Monday after, we do like a full spoiler-filled deep dive into whatever we watched, and we critique it. We've torn them apart. We've really loved on some movies, and sometimes we just argue about our points of view.
Has it ever happened that you both dislike the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
very early on. Samantha got me to watch what she said was one of the best movies called Bride Wars. We watched it, and very early in the episode, she went, "Yep, I was wrong on this one," and I agreed. It was terrible.
We also have another episode that we did, like, we hate this and nobody else does, about Love Actually. So we have, like, we went into that one being like, no, we're pretty sure we don't like this one.
I think actually that's pretty split. There's lots of people who don't like that one.
I think it's a love-hate.
It's a genre that is not loved by everyone, I think. Oh, that sounds great. That sounds like a love story, actually. Samantha just went to Indy's side.
I did.
Oh, fine. I'll talk about movies. And the next thing she knows, he's like, well, let's record ourselves talking about these movies. And then...
I guess maybe the
Exactly.
love story is that realizing that you can not love the same things as somebody and still love the person, because I feel like so often with movies, with food, people are like, I like this. If you don't like it, clearly that's a personal attack on me. And we can realize that, oh, I can hate the movies you love. And at the end, you know what? We're still fine.
Yeah.
It definitely took me a while to be like, he's not attacking me. It's just his opinion.
I'm only attacking Kate Hudson, not you.
Sure.
It's good to have some fun disagreements like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So with I Love This, You Should Too, we decided to do a Halloween exchange. They sent us some options for movies, and we sent them some options for snacks.
Not options. We just
Well,
sent them food.
We sent them food, but it's 3 options that you could go and make for
Oh,
Halloween
spoiler
snacks.
alert. We
Yep.
chose all of the above.
Oh,
Yes. I didn't realize we had to choose one.
I don't think
No,
that's
I
why I
don't
was
think
saying, what
so.
do you mean options? Not a contest. Not
The
a contest.
options are there's A,
Yes.
B, C, and the famous D. All of the above.
Mhm.
That's right.
As Erin said, we sent you guys food based on Halloween, and you sent us a few movie recommendations. And what were they? They were Trick or Treat, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Halloween. And we picked Trick or Treat.
Mm-hmm.
So we chose it because I pushed for it, because Trick or Treat was not something I had watched before.
And I wanted like the least scary because I don't like horror or scary movies.
Right.
And Erin was pulling for Halloween. We should just
I
say
was pulling for Halloween.
she
'cause
lost the battle.
I like classic horror. So
None of us wanted to watch Elm Street.
No, none of us nobody wanted to go back there again.
Well, we're watching 8 of them. So.
so if you want to watch Elm Street or you want to talk about Elm Street, tune in.
Yes,
There is the comprehensive full meal deal review.
that's
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
That's right.
I
And you're
think-
doing all 8 on the podcast.
We are,
That's crazy.
including the, I think it was 2010 they did the remake, but we won't be doing Freddy versus Jason because Samantha has never seen a Friday the 13th. And I feel
Okay.
like that's a prerequisite for that
Right.
one.
Yeah.
Oh,
And we may do that at some point. So it
please let me
would
know
be-
when you do. I can't wait to hear you talk about that.
A lot of these Nightmare on Elm Street movies, we're 6 in, and I would say 2 good ones.
Oh, wow.
But those 2, very good.
You're gonna have to tune in to find which 2 those were.
Yes. We do a ranking at the end of, or most of the episodes this month, and it does change. But I think in this last episode, we kind of said there's like the good ones, the okay ones, and then everything else.
Right.
Like one big category for everything else.
But I am glad that you chose Trick or Treat because
Okay.
even though one of them is called Halloween, I think
Right.
Trick or Treat is kind of the Halloween movie. Because I think that horror movies are not the same as Halloween movies. I think Halloween movies need to be spooky, but not necessarily scary. Like my favorite scary movies, The Shining, The Orphanage, things like that. I don't think of them as Halloween-y because I think Halloween movies need to be a little bit fun, at least.
I agree, yeah.
A little bit festive, and if they take place at Halloween, even better. And although the original Halloween definitely fits in there too, I think this one is just so much more fun and is really celebrating the holiday. It doesn't just take place at the holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's a history to it, and there's a loop to this movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it follows in such a long tradition of other horror movies.
That's
This
right.
type of anthology horror that was more fun, that came from those pre-comic book code comics that got turned into movies.
Right.
There's a lot of history in this kind of silly, fun Halloween movie.
So what
Hmm.
genre would you call this? Like it takes me back to the time where there was a little bit of nudity, there was a little bit of bullying, there was a little bit of meanness.
It's
And
campy. It's
yeah.
cheesy.
It's got all the necessaries. You have to have the like. You shouldn't walk up the stairs. You shouldn't turn
Right.
that door handle.
They're the
Like you
foolish
said,
moves.
There
Yeah.
should be boobies definitely involved.
That was the point where my kids were like, I'm out. I'm not
Yeah.
watching this movie. Why?
Walking away.
They're 8 and 11, and they
Yeah.
were just like, ugh. They don't care about swearing. They don't care about. They were just
No.
like, no.
Yeah.
boobs,
Peak
no."
embarrassment age.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, it had all the what I would call the Halloween porn elements, not to do with pornography
Yeah.
porn.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really a throwback to a lot of those older, like late 70s and right through the 80s horror movies.
What did you think of it, Samantha?
I like this one. It's fun. And like you said, it's got all the like classic horror movie things. And I think this one, we kind of struggled because we were like, well, not a lot of horror movies make you want to eat because they can be gross.
Oh yeah, I was for a second there. I was like, "What are you talking about?"
No, but like, because we were like, okay, we need something that can work food in because they're going to send us some treats or food or whatever. And so we were like, well, the trick or treat is probably the least gross of all of them. It's fun. I like that it has like both kids and adults.
Right.
And I found out when I was researching it that it never got a theatrical release. And so this year is the first year that it's available in theaters.
Oh.
And what year was it?
2007. Yeah, like all over.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it was originally finished in 2007 and they just kept getting it pushed back and eventually got buried. And then it came out in, I believe, 2009 straight to video and never got released outside of film festivals. And it's out right now. So that's
Yeah.
Oh,
nice bit of coincidence.
interesting. Huh.
I looked up Wikipedia and apparently there was rumor of a remake.
They've been
Or a
talking
part
about the
two.
sequel for about 7 years now, and every
Okay.
Halloween they say, "Oh, maybe this year," and it still hasn't happened.
Okay.
But the writer-director is still saying he's open, so
Yeah.
maybe eventually we'll get it.
Right.
Do we want to give the plot a little bit? I wouldn't mind just a quick kind of recap of what the story is about.
She fell asleep, guys.
No, I
No, I'm
didn't.
just joking. I'm just joking.
This is Indy's superpower, so I'm going to let him.
Go for it.
Oh, I don't know about this. I think this is a particularly hard movie to recap because there are 6 storylines, I think. It's not told chronologically and it's not linear. So we're constantly jumping back and forth.
Right.
If I can try to remember, a good way to think about this movie is it does encapsulate kind of Halloween throughout somebody's life. Like there is that one story that is about a father and son, and they do a bunch of misdirects, and you think the father's going to kill the son. Turns out the son is a killer himself.
Right.
Yeah.
As you at a very young age when you're still doing it with your parents.
As you do.
Sorry.
Well,
That
maybe
was
not
funny.
kill, but doing Halloween things.
Right.
Okay.
Then your next stage in life is when you are a kid and you're trick-or-treating and you're out by yourself. And there's a story here about kind of these bully kids who are tricking another girl into thinking that there are some terrible zombies down here. And
Yep.
twist on the twist, turns out, yes, there actually are.
And
Yeah.
she got him back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that part.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you have that storyline as you grow up and you're in your 20s. And what's Halloween about then? Dressing sexy, of course.
Right.
So we have these, the misdirect that we think there are these young women that are out there and one of them might be having sex for the first time. But then the twist on that one is, of course, that they are the werewolves and they
Right.
are the ones out on the hunt.
Are we allowed to say this? I really like the part where they got the principal back.
I
Yeah.
love that misdirect. Like
That
you
was
think,
like, yes.
first that there's a real vampire in this movie, and no, it turns out he's this creepy serial killer.
Right.
And he is the prey and not the predator after all. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was good.
That
And
was the
then-
only moment where I wanted to see like an actual timeline of this movie, because I
Right.
didn't really understand when everything was happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. Because the
Right.
movie kind of starts at the end.
It
Yeah.
starts at the end, and then it says previously,
Yeah.
and we
Right.
start
Yeah.
the day over again. And then I guess maybe the final story is when you are a grumpy old curmudgeon and Halloween isn't as fun, and we have the one man who is revealed to be the bus driver from
Right.
that other story, and
Mm.
now he is this kind of hermit. And throughout all of these stories, we have the character of Sam, who is kind of the spirit of Halloween and punishing people when they don't have those Halloween values, and he comes
Right.
for him at the end, but he gets his candy, so he's going to leave because that's all you need to do
Right.
to get rid of Sam. And he gets his punishment from the people that he harmed way, way a long time ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this was a great cast
Yeah.
in this movie.
Mhm.
A lot
Right.
of people from X-Men movies.
No, great cast. Definitely there was some confusion on our part.
It was kind of like Pulp Fiction, how so many
Very
storylines
Pulp
are
Fiction.
happening at
Mhm.
different times at the same. Yeah, it felt sort of twisted around. I would compare it to that.
You know what? And I kind of like it more after you gave that synopsis, Indy and Samantha. So
I think it's a great movie for that because I watch it almost every year, and it is something that
Mhm.
is rewarding when you watch it because you see that all of those characters who are no one to us early on, they're in the background doing those things throughout the
right.
movie.
So you
Yeah.
notice more things every time you watch it.
Link that timeline together.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
It seems almost more like a play on how Christmas movies usually are. Of course, this is a
Mhm.
Halloween movie, but there are very few movies that are for Halloween, and not nearly to the extent that they are for Christmas. But this does a lot of the things that Christmas movies do, but for Halloween. Because I think the best Christmas movies, they play on nostalgia, they play on Christmas traditions, and like the best ones even make some traditions of their own. And I think
Right.
this movie does that. It
Right.
does some things that we all know, like you have to check your candy. If not, something bad will happen to you. And we have someone who is poisoned. We have razor blades in candy. But then they also
Yes.
introduce some traditions of if you can't blow out the jack-o'-lantern.
Right.
I've never heard that before, so I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
that's kind of original
Mhm.
in this. And every time you break one of those rules, Sam comes to punish you. It's kind of the opposite of what we get in Christmas movies, where if you uphold these values, Santa comes and rewards
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Here
Mm,
we're getting the flip side of
the
that, because
opposite.
Halloween is kind of that
Mhm.
flip on Christmas.
I really liked on the sets how they were hanging the pumpkins in the trees.
Oh, wasn't
It
that
was
beautiful?
I was like, how
Mhm.
can I do that? Because I have
That's
like
what I
two
was thinking,
big
Erin.
creepy trees in my front yard, and I'm like, ooh,
Oh.
maybe I should
was
do this
so
this year because I
beautiful.
really I thought that part of the set design was really good.
So beautiful. It was a
It was
a
beautiful.
beautiful movie,
Mhm.
like that way, with
Mhm.
photography and videography and stuff like that.
It looked
Absolutely.
like a fun Halloween town. If you
Yeah.
didn't know all the bad stuff that was
It
happening,
did kind of look like
Yeah.
it
that.
looked like a fun party with all the lights and all everyone's out and just
Yeah.
like
It's like the equivalent
Mhm.
of all those Hallmark movies for Christmas, where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to live in that
Yeah,
town.
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
have
Yeah.
Christmas.
With the Christmas festival.
Yeah.
I want to go to Christmas in a Hallmark movie, and I want to have
Yeah.
Halloween in Trick or Treat because
Right.
I'd follow the rules, so I'd be
yes,
safe.
yeah. There you go.
Except for all the weird people,
Except for the
mean
Except for
people.
zombies and werewolves and like
A
Yeah.
principal,
Just
Yeah.
follow the rules, and you'll be fine.
just follow.
I guess.
yes.
If you go in knowing what the rules are, you're safe.
I
There you
guess,
go.
yeah.
Yeah. I like that final scene where you kind of get everybody all in one, or
Right.
everybody who's still alive.
And they
all
cross
in
paths.
one. It's a fun
Mhm.
thing
Yeah,
to kind of end up on.
it brings it together.
Yeah, it kind of it
Mhm.
ties the knot from the two ends
Mhm.
that you start at.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's take a quick break and talk about the food that went with the movie. Should I say that again?
No, I think you did a good job.
You can edit, Erin.
Looks like I'm editing. No.
With Pod Power, our sponsors are making it possible for us to amplify the voices of Albertans and Alberta podcasters. This episode, Edmonton Community Foundation is helping us give a Pod Power shout out to Overdue Finds, an Edmonton Public Library podcast.
Bryce Crittenden and Caroline Land host conversations about books, movies, music, pop culture, and other interesting news about Edmonton.
It's a great way to learn more about what's happening at EPL and how you can use your library card to access all of EPL's in-person and online services. To listen and find out more about overdue fines, head to epl.ca/podcast. All right, welcome back, everybody. We've got Sam and Indy here, and we're going to talk Halloween snacks. And you don't have to choose just one, in case you were mistaken.
Nope.
Excellent.
Let's start. So we made 3 different Halloween treats that we shipped up to Edmonton from our home in Calgary. And so we've got, Heather, why don't you start us out with what you crafted?
Okay. So I made an apple pie Rice Krispie treat. I think we are all pretty familiar with Rice Krispie squares, the Rice Krispie treats. You have marshmallow, you have Rice Krispies, and you kind of melt the marshmallow and put the Rice Krispies in and form them into a square. The difference with this one is your marshmallow is homemade. So there's none of those store-bought marshmallows in these squares. So marshmallow, for those who don't know, you're using gelatin and some type of syrup. You're whipping it until it's this gooey, frothy, it like triples in size. You start with this little bit in your bowl and it goes kind of blows up and you've got marshmallow cream. In this one, you've got ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, apple cider, which you use to bloom the gelatin and also for the syrup. The syrup is apple cider and corn syrup base.
Okay.
Like apple cider vinegar or
Nope.
apple
cider,
Okay.
the stuff you drink.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what gives it an apple flavor. And the spices, you're tossing your cereal with spices. It's not going into your marshmallow. I think it mixes better. Distributes better that way. And that's it. It's actually really simple to make marshmallow and simple to make your own Rice Krispie squares with your own.
And it was so pretty. The squares were so pretty.
They had good color.
And I think
So
maybe
delicious.
due to the homemade marshmallow, the texture of these was so much better than any other Rice Krispie squares I have that are made with your store-bought marshmallows, because they maintain the crispiness of the rice, but it just had an extra bit of gooiness between each little Rice Krispie. So they were delicious with all the kind of the warm fall spices in it too.
Yeah.
And like that apple flavor was like a nice surprise. Even though I was reading the card that you guys sent, I was like, ooh, apple. That's exciting. And it definitely tasted like an apple pie.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah, sometimes things have a name and you're like, what doesn't really taste like that? But in this case, it kind of did come through, I think.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
It was so gooey and chewy in a
chewy,
good way. It was, and it was super duper sweet. I think I got through half of what you shared and I was like, okay, so I'm not going to eat any more of this square.
It was big,
and I had
too.
to say, it was a big honking square, right? And so it was kind of, it's like, oh, wow, you cannot sit and finish one of these in one sitting. This is much too good.
Well, my kids were not going to allow me to not share it with them. So we all loved it. It was just perfect. Halloween, fall, beautiful, beautiful treat.
Nice.
Yes, fantastic, Heather.
Thank you.
I will share that. Okay, I made a caramel popcorn for our Halloween treat that we sent to you. It's easy to ship. And I think it's actually really quite easy to make. It's something that in my house we all really love, but the store-bought stuff, we have sensitive teeth. And it can be so hard and crunchy and nuts, and I don't know, sometimes it just seems too hard. So I like this homemade one because it's a little bit softer. I colored ours black and orange for Halloween, and it also turns your mouth black, which is a super added benefit of this.
When do you color it?
Into the saucepan. So the sugar, butter, syrup, and coloring paste.
Okay.
It all goes in the saucepan. You want to stir it to it so it dissolves. And then once it starts to boil, set your timer for 5 minutes and do not touch it. As soon as your timer goes, you take it off the stove, and that's when you add in baking soda and your vanilla. And it does this great thing where it like froths up.
Right.
It's a really interesting process to make this. You pour it out over top of your plain popcorn, and then you do mix it really good, and then you bake it in your oven at 300 for like 10 to 15 minutes just to finish it off and give it the crunch, or else it's still very gooey and toffee-like and it'll stick to your teeth. That last little bake tends to help it so it's a little more of a crunch to it rather than sticky toffee on your teeth.
Okay.
I also love to make this for Halloween. When our children were little, we had a Halloween party where I made all the kids these little bags of caramel popcorn. And we send all the kids down to the basement to watch like a cute little kids Halloween movie. And
I'll always remember this story.
And we go downstairs at the end of the thing, and they're like, they've watched maybe 2 minutes and they've just been flying around the basement. You could not distinguish carpet from popcorn at this point. It was just a solid layer of popcorn all over the floor.
And this was when Erin and I were getting to know each other. And I remember saying, should we go and clean up? And she's like, no, just leave it. And I just looked at her in horror. I'm like, but who's going to clean it up? I don't understand. It was delicious.
I think we got like a rake or a shovel into the
God.
house to get like it was in the carpet, like it was like
It's a good thing it wasn't too sticky.
So caramel corn.
We sat for a few minutes trying to discern if the orange and the black had separate flavors.
And then I thought, I think it's just in my head, but it seems like they're different. But I think it's just because then when I closed my eyes, I couldn't tell the difference anymore.
No flavor difference.
But it was so tasty.
But I think that how you described it, that's what I appreciated about it so much more than any store-bought one. It's the difference from stickiness to crispness and crunchiness, because it doesn't feel like it's leaving a residue on your teeth. It doesn't feel like it's going to pull out any fillings or anything. It was very crisp and very nice.
Oh, good.
It reminded me, like texture-wise, of like the old pink elephant Cracker Jacks or whatever. What was it called? The pink elephant stuff? This tasted way better. Like the flavor doesn't even compare. But that texture of it being just sort of crunchy on the surface, but still popcorn. Whereas sometimes it felt like sometimes caramel popcorn is more caramel and you almost lose the popcorn in it. And I like that this is you actually feel like you're munching on popcorn. Just extra. Zhuzhed up popcorn.
Fancy popcorn.
Yeah, I like that.
So while Heather's treat was comforting for me, this was like a pop. Like you should have seen my eyes go, whoa, because I loved the texture. This was a perfect texture.
That's what sells me on it all the time. It's that last little final bake and something to do with the baking soda mixing in there. I don't know. It just...
Yeah. And I think that the savory sweet. I felt like I could taste it because I like savory more than sweet, but this was beautiful. I couldn't stop eating.
I ate like the whole bag, and then my husband was like, well, where did that popcorn go? Can I have some more of that popcorn? I'm like, no, you already tried it. He's like, no, but where is it? Because I want to have more. I'm like, it's gone. Long gone. I ate
trying to nicely say that you will never see it again.
Yeah. Now, Sarah, we need to hear about your cute buns.
So years and years ago, I came across this recipe. I'm not much of a baker, but this was a very simple recipe by a foodie known to us as Julie Van Rosenthal. She's on CBC a lot. And this wasn't actually her recipe. It was someone that she had met, and it was this person's grandmother. So it's called Jason's Grandma's 2-Hour Buns. And I started making these buns like years ago. And I remember one day contacting Erin and saying, if I wanted to stuff these buns, how would I do that? Because I had no idea what proofing was and all this stuff. She gives me some tips. I stuff it. The stuffing all comes out and stuff. And I have just used this recipe. And not only can I get the stuffing in, I can actually shape them into weird animal characters and like weird things.
Sarah gets to bring out her food tweezers and she's all excited and happy about it.
I swear a lot, but I use this recipe. I make shapes for the kids. So I make them into pigs or chickens or like, whatever. And this time I made them into some sort of weird looking cat, which I'm not sure came out exactly the way I wanted it to, but it was spooky, right?
Indy, did it look like a cat?
Oh, definitely. And I'm quite a connoisseur of black cats. We've had
Okay.
episodes of the podcast where I ranked my top movie black cats.
All right.
So I'd like to say I'm a little bit of a pro in black cats, and I thought it looked great.
That's okay, perfect. So anyway, this recipe is on the website and it's simplified a little bit, and you can just use it as a bun recipe and do exactly what we served you without making it into a cat and spending the extra time. But if you wanted to do these kind of things, you can go get these natural colored powders. So the black was charcoal. The pink was hibiscus flower or something like that. I did all these weird things. And then I think the star was the cinnamon butter, which Heather actually told me about. So see, both of these things sort of are related to both my co-hosts. Heather told me about how she would go home and she would make cinnamon butter.
Oh, cinnamon toast.
Cinnamon toast. And I'd be, what is that? Well, tell me. So you mix sort of butter with cinnamon and sugar, and then you sort of spread it on your toast. And so I decided to do this with whipped butter, just because I don't know if you guys are familiar with sort of Asian cream buns, like the Chinese cream buns. And I love that. But the problem with the Chinese cream buns was that both Heather and I are sensitive to milk and cream. So I just decided to just do this with butter. So I whipped the butter, I threw in the sugar to taste, I threw in the cinnamon to taste, and then I added a little powdered color to make it look like it was kind of pinkish or reddish, so it looked like the cat was bleeding out like its brains or something like that. And that's as simple as it was.
Well, it was super cute. I lived in East Asia for quite a while, and it just reminded me of when kids would come to school and they would have their little kimbaps or their bento boxes that were shaped like little different animals, and I was always so envious of these children. And now I got to be one of them because I got to eat my super cute cat. There's no reason that you all would know this, but I have many cute cat t-shirts, costumes, all sorts of cat related things, so I was very happy to get
that. I'm so happy. Cute. I didn't know that, but yay.
It worked out.
I only tasted like the outside buns, but it was so tasty. It had such a cool cinnamon flavor that I don't think I've experienced in like a baked
right.
before.
So I think maybe we should tell our listeners, by the time we couriered our food over to Edmonton, and unfortunately it took 3 days to get to them instead of a few hours. So I messaged them and said, do not eat the cream bun because the cream might be bad.
The cream. Yeah.
Oh, and I heard that. Samantha told me, but I just ate it anyway. And it was good. It was great. I loved it.
I put it through the test and I saved all my stuff to eat at the same time as you guys.
You did.
Yeah.
So if I was sick from the cream, I'd be like, oh, if they don't tell us they got sick from the cream, they're lying.
I played it safe. I don't know. He's more adventurous than I am.
You don't have the years of eating street food in other countries like I do. I feel like my stomach is ready for anything now.
I forgot to say that I also added a little bit of cream, just a little bit, to get the extra whip and the lightness into the buttercream. And this was from a little bit of advice that a friend gave me, and she makes cakes.
And Sarah tried to trick us because she told us she was making char siu buns with barbecue pork in the bun. So then, and we were like all set for this like savory, pork bun. And we're like, wait, why can't they eat it? Like, why won't it keep in the mail? Like, what's the problem? Why is there cream in it? She likes to try to trick us.
Yeah,
I thought it was so cute. Totally cute little black cat for Halloween. Even though I think I got the one with the eyeball that had fallen off, but it was really cute. A one-eyed cat.
Yes.
And I loved it. I always love those buns. It's a great bun recipe. And you have such patience to like color the dough and make the little shapes and put it together. It's so cute.
I ate it 3 days in. It was still delicious. And like that cream in the middle. I liked it so much.
Yeah, it was not my best filling. Like I usually put a lot of different kinds of fillings into these buns. This was something very new to me. But I just decided to change maybe I was craving a Chinese bun, Chinese coconut cream bun or something, but I realized how much dairy goes into this, right? So I decided not to go exactly with a recipe from those kind of buns. So
I liked it a lot.
good.
So there you go. We've watched a movie. We've eaten lots of food.
We've kept with the Halloween theme.
Yeah, nice little mashup of our two podcasts.
Totally.
And
It's time for some fun questions, guys. Rapid fire.
Ooh.
Ready?
I'm nervous.
don't
buzzers ready?
think too hard. Just whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
Hey, Sam, you answer first because I talk way too much already.
Okay.
All right. Halloween theme. So, favorite chocolate.
Twix.
Oh, in trick-or-treating, the peanut butter cup was always the gold standard for me growing up.
I agree.
Heather.
The Reese's Cup.
Reese's cup.
Yeah.
So a chocolate bar?
No, doesn't have to be a chocolate bar, just
Ooh.
candy.
I loved Tootsie Rolls when I was a
Really?
kid. I don't like them
See,
now.
you're an ideal friend. My sister loved those, and I would be able to trade
Right.
my Tootsie Rolls to her and get actual good candy.
See, and I got so many Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah. That's a surprising
We
one.
all win.
Sarah, what's yours?
Cadbury mini eggs. Soon as it comes out, I've got bags in my cart. I love them.
Oh, I think they're
With the
year-round
hard
now.
shell.
Oh, I love those ones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I only buy them around Halloween. I don't know why.
Hmm.
Should we go favorite Halloween movie?
Sure.
Trick or Treat might be up there because it is the most Halloween of the Halloween movies. I love the original Halloween, the movie. I think it's a better movie and a more important movie. But Trick or Treat is my go-to for Halloween movies.
Right.
I think I like Hocus Pocus.
Mm.
I haven't seen the new one. I think I'm waiting until closer
good.
to Halloween to see it.
It's good.
Save it for the occasion.
Yeah.
Heather, do you know what you're gonna say?
I think you just have to skip me on.
Oh no.
I've got two, so
You know me
I'll
with
make up for
movies.
you.
It's not I don't think it's a Halloween movie, but it's always watched at Halloween. For me, is the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, yeah.
We used to
Oh,
watch
that is
that
a good one.
one.
every year. We would do that and sneak out trick or treating, even though we were definitely too old. But we had kind of talked about this earlier, saying that nobody's ever too old to trick or treat. So we
As
said
long as you dress up.
if you dress up and show up at the door, you're getting candy. Yeah.
Yeah, if you put the work in, that's what you're getting rewarded for, not your age.
Yep.
Okay, so this is not really Halloween-y, but I love watching this around Halloween, is The War of the Roses. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but I think it's hilarious and kind of, I don't know, evil, I guess. And then Nightmare Before Christmas, always.
I've probably seen Nightmare Before Christmas more than any other movie in my life, but
Yeah.
I watch it on Christmas Eve every year since I was
okay.
11, I think.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I've never stayed up late enough to watch it with him. So
Right.
that tells you. It's Indy's like solo tradition.
It's a great movie.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, so boxes of raisins in your treat bag, yes or no?
No.
No.
Everybody's like, no, we don't want raisins, we want candy.
It's a hate from me.
I don't personally, I like raisins, but it's Halloween. Still give me
Yeah.
raisins.
I
I
know.
have many, many days to eat raisins, and Halloween is not one of them.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was really fun. And look, you got me to watch a movie from start to finish.
Yay.
I didn't realize that was like a feat.
We've been trying for a long time, and
Sarah really especially loves movies, and she's always like, hey, are you gonna watch this? I've actually been to the theater with Sarah, so that it has happened.
and she's
here
only
there.
gone not because of me, but because of the kids. And so and then she just sits there and she's like, "Ah." But
I'm like,
you
as
know
long
what?
as
She's
there's
a
like
good
a
sport.
good-looking guy that I can
There you
ogle
go.
or something, then I
Those
like it.
movie seats are damn comfortable now.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
You'll fall asleep in those comfy chairs though.
Oh,
As you
yeah.
recline, and then it's so nice and big and wide, like you're cozy in there.
Fantastic. Well, Indy and Samantha, will you plug your podcast?
Tell people where to find you.
Thanks so much for having us. This was the first time I've spoken on something where I didn't do a big long soliloquy. I was trying real hard, so I got through it. But if you want to hear me soliloquize and you want to hear Samantha have to deal with that, you can listen to us. Our podcast is called I Love This, You Should Too. And you can find us wherever you're listening to this. We're on all the big podcast apps. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook and all of those sort of things. And come listen to us argue about movies.
Sounds great.
Oh, I want to make one mention. I got to thank you for recommending at one point, like a long ways back, you recommended the podcast My Dad Wrote a Porno. And I had never heard it. And I was like, oh, what are they talking about? Because you were both like just cracking up, like laughing about how you thought it was so funny. And I was like, oh, okay. I binged that straight through from start to wherever it ended now, like continuously. I've never laughed so hard in my life. So I got to thank you for recommending that.
I had to stop listening to it on the train to work because there were times where I'd like snort because I was holding my laughter in, and then other times where I'd like literally gag because it gets so gross sometimes. It's feel good. I like it.
Oh, it's so funny. Just so good. Everybody, if you're not offended by erotica, and it's terrible erotica, but that's
Poorly
the whole point.
written erotica.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's really funny. Anyway, thank you for that.
I love that one.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
This was fun. Happy Halloween.
Yes.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
All right, well, trick or treat.
And now for the fine print. Join us over on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest, and on our website at threekitchenspodcast.com. And remember, when you like, follow, subscribe, and review, it helps more people find us. Thank you so much for listening.
I felt that, Heather. I felt it.